Hi, and welcome back. So in the past, I think I just started talking about this in the last video, but in the last video, we were talking about how we figure out the atomic masses of, I guess we could say for right now, just different versions of our helium atom. And one of the things I mentioned in the last video was that the way that we know that an atom that we have is a helium atom is by the number of protons. So if we had, and we'll definitely talk more about all of this in future videos. I don't know if we'll get into all of the detail in this video right now, but we were talking about this helium atom, and we said that this helium atom here had 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and 2 electrons. And the 2 electrons, we knew that this had 2 electrons because we said that this was going to be a neutral atom, that there wasn't going to be any charge on the atom. And so the protons had a positive charge and the electrons had a negative charge. So in order to have a neutral charge, we had to have an equal number of protons and electrons. And then we also had 2 neutrons, and the protons and the neutrons were in our nucleus. And I told you in the last video that the way we know that we have got an element, or that we are looking at, sorry, my pen keeps on going down to the center, but the way that we know that we are looking at helium, at the element helium, is by the number of protons, by the fact that we have got 2 protons in our nucleus. And this is actually, there are a couple of things I should talk about. In a past video, I defined an atom as a fundamental, or the fundamental building block of matter. And there's sort of an addition that I guess we should make onto that definition, and that is that an atom, so I'll write it down, an atom can also be said to be the smallest, I guess the smallest unit of a given element. And so, in the past couple of videos, we've been talking about the element helium. And helium is maybe something you're familiar with if you've ever had a helium-filled balloon. That's helium is it's actually a monoatomic gas, and definitely more on that in the future. But helium, the smallest amount of helium that you can ever have, where you can still definitively say that, yes, this is helium, this is absolutely helium, is an atom. So, and I guess also where we were talking about the way that we know it's helium is by the fact that it has 2 protons, the fact that we have got 2 protons in our nucleus. This is another thing that we're going to define, which is the atomic number. And the atomic number is very straightforward. It's just the number of protons. So, helium's atomic number is 2 because it's just the number of protons. And to give you a bit more, I guess, of a demonstration of this, I'm going to move down, and here is my periodic table. And I'll definitely do a bunch of videos on all the different characteristics of the periodic table. But essentially, all I want you to realize about it right now, and even I'll move this up a little. Actually, no, I'll leave it down there. The only thing I guess you really should notice right now is that we've got all of these bold numbers right here above. So we've got our symbol. So this big H, that's for hydrogen. That's the first element in the periodic table. And then above the H, we've got that bold 1. And that is our atomic number. So that's telling us that hydrogen has got 1 proton. So no matter what, if we somehow found a hydrogen atom with 20 neutrons, and we wouldn't find that, but if we somehow found a hydrogen atom with 2 neutrons and 1 proton, or we found an atom with 1 proton and no neutrons, or if we found different versions of of an atom and they all had one proton in the nucleus, then we are always looking at hydrogen. That's what defines the element. So if we have, no matter what the other characteristics are of that element, if we have something that has one proton in the nucleus, then we are definitely looking at hydrogen. And similarly, here is helium. So we've been talking about helium in the past couple examples. And here is helium over on the other side of the periodic table. And helium, like we had been saying, helium, so our symbol for helium is He, and it's got this bold 2 above the symbol, and that's our atomic number. So that's telling us that there are 2 protons. So no matter, what other versions we find of helium, if we find a helium atom with 2 neutrons in its nucleus, or a helium atom with 3 neutrons in its nucleus, so long as there are also 2 protons in that nucleus, then we know that we are definitely dealing with helium. If we find an atom that, we think it, for some reason that it has a proper, well, anyway, we probably wouldn't find an atom like this, but if we thought that we found an atom that we thought had properties like helium or looked very much like helium, but it had 3 protons in its nucleus, then by definition it wouldn't be helium. In order to have helium, we have to have 2 protons in the nucleus. So, and you can do this with other things. Here's a carbon. Carbon, right down there. Carbon's atomic number is 6. Right there. So the symbol for carbon is a C, and the atomic number is 6. So that means in order for us to have carbon, in order to know that we have an atom of carbon, we have to have 6 protons in our nucleus. That's what defines that we have that we're looking at carbon. Similarly, you can also probably think how many, in order to have a neutral atom, of carbon, how many electrons do we have to have? Well, we would have to have, if we wanted to have, we know that we've got 6 protons, and the protons we know have a positive 1 charge. So if we wanted to have a neutral atom, how many electrons would we need? We would need 6 electrons, right? So they would essentially balance each other out. So we would have 6 protons and 6 electrons in our neutral atom. Let's do another one. Let's say we had, what's a good one? Say we had bromine. Bromine down here. Its atomic number is 35. So that means that we have 35 protons in the nucleus. In order for us to have bromine, we have to have exactly 35 protons. It doesn't necessarily matter, it doesn't necessarily matter how many neutrons we find in the nucleus. In order for us to have an atom with bromine's, characteristics, it has to have 35 protons in its nucleus. So anyway, that is, I guess, your introduction to the atomic number. In the next bunch of videos, we'll actually start dealing much more. If this is the first time seeing the periodic table, I'll definitely do more videos explaining much more about the periodic table and all the different tendencies and traits and all the different ways that you can use the periodic table in future videos. And over the course of this playlist, we're going to be dealing with the periodic table a lot. So anyway, I guess I'll leave you there. In the next video, we'll probably start talking about, in the past, I think I mentioned it once in this video, but I know I definitely mentioned it a bunch in previous videos. I mentioned this word isotope. And in the next video, I'll finally give you a definition for the word isotope. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.